So listen, y'all, we are getting ready to head out to take a look at the venue for our 25th wedding vow renewal. And on this edition of, it's our favorite, babe. This is, I know you just, what's the face about? Who's the,
dropping stuff.
I know I was dropping stuff, but it's good stuff. This is our favorite
You're not supposed to talk on eat on TV, on camera.
with food in your mouth. My bad. Because this ain't no food critic tasting shop. I hate it when people be talking about.
Anyway, so recently
Anyway.
I was having a conversation with a young lady here in Panama, and we were talking about marriage. She's been engaged for 5 years, and she was telling me the mindset of people here in Panama regarding marriage. And it made me think about how the mindset has shifted about marriage even in the United States. Just globally, marriage is looked at very differently today than it was 50, 40, 30 years ago. So we're going to talk about it. Is the idea of marriage outdated, or is marriage really still a thing?
As we count down 25 years in a row and the third episode for Behind Closed Doors, y'all stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. You know people want to know what that is. She's got food in her mouth now, so she can't talk. So I'm going to put food in my mouth so when she talk, I don't have to.
My piece wasn't as big as yours. Hey guys, welcome to Behind the Scenes with Glenn and Cherie Brooks.
That's the wrong name of the show.
Okay, let's start over. Hey guys, welcome to Behind Closed Doors with Glenn and Cherie Brooks.
Trying to get my banana bread down. We are back, and Cherie woke up this morning talking about a conversation that she had with a friend here in Panama who has been dating for the last 5 years.
Hasn't been engaged.
I'm sorry,
for 5
engaged
years.
for the last 5 years. And the question became, is marriage, is it
Outdated.
relevant? Oh, is it outdated?
Is the idea of marriage outdated?
That's a good question.
And so it made me really think about it, and just going back, thinking about other couples that we've talked to over the years. We've been relationship coaches for the last 20 some odd years and have been working in the lives of married couples, and there's been this thought that marriage isn't necessary, particularly among couples that are in their late 20s and 30s, and some even up into their 40s, that really have this belief that marriage is not needed, that, we together,
Gonna be together, we ain't going nowhere, you know what I mean?
we live together, and why get married?
Yeah. So let's talk about that today. Why? Why get married? Is it needed? And I think that for me, one of the things I said to Cherie, I said, I think it starts from where your framework starts. So, for example, Cherie and I, we're believers, and our marriage has been constructed based upon how the Bible depicts marriage in that sort of regard. So the idea was, for us, marriage was necessary as a couple. It was the next level. And I think that a lot of times when, particularly depending on the culture you're a part of, whether that's, church, not church, believers, unbelievers, different religions, you name it, a lot of times your construct of marriage is what sort of sets the tone for is it necessary. For us, it was absolutely needed. It was absolutely necessary, because what we were not going to do is not grow in a relationship where there was no commitment in terms of, and I'm going to use this word, you don't hear it very often, in terms of a covenant. I thought it was really important if you're going to grow. I think it's really important if you're going to grow with a person, there has to be another thing involved that when both of y'all want to quit, it holds you or it bonds you together that says, no, this is bigger than us. This is not just about us.
And I think the bigger thing for me, because as you guys may know, I was married twice before Glenn and I got married. I got married the first time at 19. And I can honestly say at the age of 19, I had no idea what marriage really was. It was like an extension of you boyfriend, girlfriend. The next thing you do is you just get married.
Right.
But I did not understand anything about the commitment that comes with a marriage. And so it was very easy for me in that relationship, when things weren't going the way they were, when things got rough, to just walk away from it. Even in my second marriage, although my second marriage, yes, I was a believer, and I had I had more of an understanding of what marriage was. I think that the biggest reason that I believe from talking to people that they don't necessarily think that marriage is a necessity is because I don't think they really understand what a covenant is. I think that, you believe, you're going to you're together, there's a level of commitment, but the way that I view a covenant, when you get married under a covenant, there's this, you're bringing God into your relationship.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like, so if you're braiding, so if you think about, so when you do a 2-strand twist on somebody's hair, it's 2 strands. It's just you and your spouse. So you guys, you're going to do a 2-strand twist. It's just the two of you together. But when you bring that third entity in, when you bring God into you, there's that third strand. Mm-hmm. When you do a braid, it's a lot harder for a braid to come unraveled than it is for a 2-strand twist. A 2-strand twist, it can get wet. It's going to come unraveled.
Right.
You can pull on it, and it's going to come loose very easily. But a braid, it's going to take some work, concerted effort to really take braids out. If you've ever had braids in your hair and you've had to take them out, that is not an easy task. It takes you a long time. You got to commit to taking it out.
Ooh, that's good. Babe.
And so for me, marriage adds that third strand to your relationship and the commitment, which makes it harder for you to just walk away. Because let's be honest, in marriage, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have times that he's going to get on your nerves. He's going to get on your nerves.
Why you got to be pointing like that?
And there are going to be things that are going to happen that you're not going to be happy every day in your marriage. There are things that are going to happen. I just got off the phone with actually one of our coaching clients and was talking about how I firmly believe that God uses marriage to... The scripture is when iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, Proverbs. When iron sharpens iron, so does the countenance of a friend.
Right. I believe that God uses marriage to sharpen that iron. I think he uses that relationship to create friction, to rub out things in each of us individually to get us to grow in certain areas. And so that friction can be aggravating. It can get on your nerves. It can cause you to look, I don't want to do this. I ain't signed up for all of this. But I believe that there's a purpose in it in the end. Yes, there are happy moments. Yes, it's a joy. I love Glenn. We're best friends. It's not, I don't want this to sound like marriage is this doom and gloom thing. That
At all,
but,
right.
But it's work.
So let me just jump in real quick, babe, just so that I can kind of, from a spiritual perspective, when you talk about 2 strands versus 3, there's a scripture that talks about a threefold cord is not easily broken. Mm-hmm. And what that is, really breaking down to is that you plus your spouse or friend or whomever the other person is, when you introduce God into the equation, you begin to weave it in a way that there's something else that connects you. And in the confines of a marriage, when you do that part in covenant, what really this means is it transcends contract. And I need y'all to understand, and I'd like to teach you for a moment, that regardless of the relationship, whether that is a relationship with a builder for a home, a relationship with a finance company for a car, a relationship with a tenant landlord kind of a situation, there's often a contract that binds you guys together around the rules of this relationship. A covenant says that, listen, just like Christ gave his life for the church, that husbands should lay their lives down for their wives. And the reason why Sharia and I, when we get into funks and when we get into places where I don't like her very much and vice versa, what keeps me connected to her is not my love for her, but the honoring of our covenant. And it's the fact that I don't get to easily walk away, even when you think about a marriage ceremony, whether it's a justice of the peace or whether it is a small or large wedding, you often are going to have what they would call witnesses, right? Why are they there? Are they there just to partake and have a good time, the food, the drink, the dance, No. They are there to witness the union and, more importantly, the vows that you guys committed to each other publicly. And to your point, it is 100% declaration. You are saying to the world, in front of God and everybody, here is my commitment to this woman. So when you say, is it needed? If you want to build long-term relationships in a coupled relationship that is going to impact the world, I think that the way that that's super transcending of anything that we know here on this earth, and that is entering into the covenant called marriage and doing it from that perspective. There are people in our culture that don't, and I'm not here to judge that.
Right.
That's not the point of this particular video. But when the question becomes, is it necessary? Is it needed still? I'm saying absolutely, because I think it's a reflection of truly what God loves looks like in the earth.
Right. And so another question that came up during that conversation was like, so what about common law? You know, if you're together a certain amount of times, I know in the states, in certain states, they do still recognize common law. Here in Panama, they recognize common law marriage. If you're living with a person for a certain amount of period, you still get the same legal rights to that person if they pass away or whatever. But the thing, I think for me, that at the end of the day, if you're just living together, if you're cohabitating, if there's no commitment, and you can say you're committed to each other, but I think if there's no declaration of your commitment, that it's very easy to, let's be honest, if you're not legally married, I could decide to just get up and leave tomorrow.
If she wanted to.
There's nothing that's
However,
holding
I
me.
would probably still follow her wherever she's going, because at this point we ain't got but two rules. You can't leave me
And I can't die.
And you can't die.
I don't know how we're going to work that out.
I don't know how we're going to work that out, but that's the rule.
Right, but you still have the option
Sure.
to leave when you haven't made that commitment. And I think that if you really
the
care,
option is easier.
The option is easier. I think that if you really care for the person, if you're truly committed, why not take that next step? Why not
Now, that's a
go
good
ahead
perspective, babe.
and make the declaration? Why leave it?
That's
Maybe
that's good. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Why leave it open?
I don't know. Make that commitment. I mean, we were also talking about, in the news recently, there's been a lot of talk about people with these prenuptial agreements for a lot of sports figures. A lot of celebrities get these prenuptial agreements, and we had a kind of interesting conversation about that. I don't have a problem with a prenuptial, because I feel like if I'm marrying the person because I love them, I don't care about what you had.
Yeah.
And if that's something legally, because I understand finances and I understand business, that's a business decision. That's not personal. This is you protecting your business. This is no different than if I own my own business and we get married. I've built this thing from the ground up. Do I want you to just come in and then just ransack that business?
If
no.
you decide to,
If
right.
you decide to,
you
no.
would take protection.
I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to reap the benefits from it as we're together.
Right.
And my hope is that we will stay together. But if God forbid something happens, I don't think this is fair that you would then strip away everything that I've built until that point.
Yeah.
And so I personally don't have a problem with that. But it kind of tied into this, because it made me think there are so many reasons why people will have these excuses why not to get married.
Okay.
We can just live together.
Yeah.
We can just, I don't want to.
And so in that case, don't want to worry about that whole piece.
We'll just live
it's not a
together.
fact.
But the thing is that you don't reap, and not even just the physical benefits of being married. There are
Spiritual?
there are spiritual benefits, but there are also some other tangible benefits.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, like, so I'm gonna be 100% transparent.
Uh-oh, we getting ready to get
here.
real,
So,
really
like
real.
I said, we were both married before.
Yeah.
When we dated,
Yeah.
and all the benefits that come with that.
Friends with benefits is what she's saying, y'all. Like, she's trying to be discreet because your boy had clothes in her closet. So
Okay.
let's just, can we
we tried to do it, the quote unquote.
So we're not even sitting here from a
Right,
standpoint to
right.
say we didn't do that.
Right, but we were living together. We did the whole thing, but we decided we were going to commit, and we did that. And I can honestly say, once we made that commitment,
It changed things.
things changed
It did.
in a very
In a
positive
very positive
manner.
way.
Not in a bad way. I mean, there was an increased level of intimacy. There was a closeness that we had that we didn't have before.
I just want to, I want to kind of jump in on that if I
Okay,
can,
go
because
ahead.
you getting ready to go down a whole trail. Y'all, I think, and with the respect of time, and we probably could pick up and talk about this because this is a really loaded conversation. I'm interested in y'all's thoughts. Put it in the comments below. Is marriage even necessary? And I think, again, I want to say that it really is about where are you and where are you going as an individual and as a couple, right? The truth of the matter is, as believers, my answer is hands down,
yes.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? It's God's model in the earth of his relationship with the church. So without preaching y'all a sermon, that's biblical. But outside of that, from a cultural standpoint, what does it do for you? And you mentioned the idea of adding benefits. I believe that when two people come together and they solidify a relationship like a marriage publicly and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. I believe what it does is it puts you right immediately smack dab in the middle of everybody's attention. There are things and doors that open up for you because of your connection. We hear people all the time, power couples and this, that, and the third. I can't tell you from a networking standpoint how important it is when I walk into a room with my wife, right? And the commitment that we have together to live our life out loud, on what kind of opportunities in the physical that opens up just because we've solidified. The point I'm making is that I think that there are so many benefits to it. For me, the question is it necessary or is it beneficial? I think the answer is, of course it is.
All right, and another question that came up when I was having this discussion was, so there are a lot of reasons, like people, so the wedding is no longer, has become optional, which in some ways I kind of agree and disagree. And what I mean by that is, spending $30,000, $40,000 on a wedding, do you really need to do that? I mean, that's your choice. But more and more people are opting out of doing big weddings and doing the justice of peace. And then the question is, so if you go to the justice of peace, is God still in your marriage? Yes, God is between you. I mean, you don't have to have, and this is going to probably upset some of my church folks, but you don't have to have a priest or a preacher do your vows.
Right.
Because the vows are the same. And it's you're saying it with, like Glenn said, there are witnesses there. It's your commitment between the two of you and with God. Your covenant's with God. It's not with that priest or that preacher or them people in that church service.
Not them people.
Them people. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I think that that's a personal choice. If you choose to go to a justice of peace and get married, your wedding is just as valid as anybody else. Yeah. I think that, like I said, and that's one thing that people will use that as an excuse. Well, we don't have the money to have a wedding.
I see where you're going with that.
Don't use that as an excuse to not get married. You have people use these excuses, well, we want to wait till we got everything in order. Everything ain't never going to be in order.
Last thing I do want to kind of mention, and guys, we kind of are like, jumping from category to categories in terms of, unpacking this question, and all of them are loaded. The last thing is, when there are no good examples of solid marriages that work, that are not just piecemeal together, that is not just sort of held together by a wing and a prayer, but these marriages are thriving. When there is a lack of examples of that, I think what it does is it creates hopelessness. That, well, why bother?
Right.
Why should I go through all the painstaking challenges of growing with a person in a marriage if everybody I know is getting divorced, my parents' friends, So I want to encourage you, don't you let the culture cause you to miss out on something that you know you need to be doing. Because at the end of the day, here's what I can promise you. Cherie and I have said this on a regular basis. I can guarantee you that if marriages are coming unglued, it has nothing to do with the amount of love. It has everything to do with the amount of skill and the amount of work that you do on that relationship together. Rob Bay said it perfectly. It takes two to make a thing go right. The problem is that when you have one person going all out to work on themselves, the relationship, the whole bit, and the other person is just coasting, or they're not putting in work, that's going to create a divide.
Yeah.
Now, and I will say, I do know that there are examples where a person has put in a lot of work, they've evolved and they've changed, and it's won the other person over. That doesn't happen often. If you want to see some examples of some marriages that are thriving, not perfect by no stretch, but are thriving, people doing work, you come hang out with us in the MAPS relationship community, and I can guarantee you where we are helping and have been for a number of years online in a community where we're growing people's skill sets and we're helping them to protect the bond and the covenant of their marriage. No, it's out there. You just ain't seeing it. And I don't want you to become discouraged because you don't think it's available.
Yeah, and lastly, I just want to add that there's a level of security in knowing that your partner has made that commitment.
Yeah.
That,
For sure.
It takes divorce off the table. It takes leaving off the table. You both are committed to go through. I mean, the vows are.
It takes divorce and leaving easily off the table.
Easily off the table, yeah.
Because people do, and we're products of
right.
that. So we're not here saying you can't.
Right.
You get married and you won't be divorced.
But you're not going in with that as an option.
That's the point. That's
right.
the
You're
point.
not going into the relationship with that as an option.
It's not your plan B.
And so I think that, number one, I mean, people need the vows that, we typically recite in marriage are, through sickness and health, for richer, for poorer.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse. Till death do us part.
That part.
Till death do us part. If you are willing to make that level of a commitment to a person, that says something. That says something about you. It says something about your commitment to the relationship. And I think that, we have to stop allowing, like Glenn said, allowing the culture, allowing the fact that we haven't seen other people do it. Find a community, find a group of people that are doing it. There are a lot of people out here that have successful relationships that are doing it right. And like I said, none of us are perfect.
Absolutely.
But we're willing to do the work. And I think that, I believe that marriage is still relevant. I don't believe that it's outdated. I believe that it's something that men and women still desire today. I think that society has been so focused on you getting yours, career focused, and that is pushed back, the age of people getting married.
My best life.
And then typically, oftentimes what happens, you're so independent at that point in time, you don't think you need it. But I want to challenge you. I mean, you may be 30 today. You may not.
To the left.
You may not think you need a partner now, but when you get older, when you look at your life down the road, don't you want to spend that with somebody? Don't you want to be able to enjoy the benefits of all of your hard work with a partner?
Yeah.
With somebody that, maybe you've developed it together, you guys have grown together. I believe that marriage is still very viable.
Yeah.
I think that it is something that in today's society, we need more examples of healthy relationships, healthy marriages. And like I said, whether you get married by justice of the peace, whether you get married in a church, in a park, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Where it's your commitment that you're making to each other as man and woman with God, that you're making that covenant and you're committing to till death do you part.
Guys, last thing, and I promise you this is the last thing. Cherie, don't say another last thing and another said. I need you to let this be the last thing.
And the last thing.
And the last thing.
And the
Because
last
people
thing.
think we preachers like they are closing for 20 minutes. Listen to me, guys. And I want to underscore something Cherie said. I think our culture has duped us in believing that the only time you get into community with other people or you seek out help is when you're in crisis. And our community is not that. We're not therapists, we're coaches, and they are very different. They are both very needed, and we're proponents of them both. But as coaches, our job really is to draw up a game plan and create an environment that holds you accountable to doing what it is that you say you'll do. And I think that that's the biggest thing I love about marriage. It's a built-in accountability system where I do not get to go off the Richter scale, off the reservation, and go left without there being some kind of pushback or some kind of checks and balances. Because as a man, I'm telling you, I need that in my life. We were built to be visual. And so there are a lot of things that may take me off course from, and let me just be dead real, from the beauty of another woman to the beauty of a business to the beauty of building a ministry. I've been victim to all of them in my lifetime, where I've had to have some kind of accountability system in place that says, you may want to pump the brakes and slow your roll, bro, and think about this one for a minute. It's hard for me to know that I'm going to jump on a call every Tuesday night with a group of people who are putting in work, and then I'm sitting up here faking like I'm doing something and I'm not. That, for me, is the difference. And so I want to encourage you, don't not put yourself in community with people because you're good. That's the mistake. And I think that that's the part that Sharia and I had to realize years ago. That's when we join one. In our case, that's when we create that community, is when we're good. So that when we run up on crisis, we have something to hold on. At the end of the day, here's what I can promise you. You cannot get to any place of significance by yourself.
Because we all
need
some help.
Some help. Y'all be good. Click the link at the bottom. Like, subscribe to the channel. Check out the descriptions below if you want to catch up with us. We'll see you on the next episode of Behind Closed Doors.
With the Brooks.
With the Brookses.
Brookses.
The Brooks. It's two of us.
Brookses.
You got to say Brooks.